like, are you going to introduce me or should I start now?
You just go right ahead.
All right,
Introduce yourself.
let me start doing that. I hope my screen is visible. Hi, Owen. Thanks for inviting me again. And this topic is like one of my daily frustration during my C articleship, and you can say that right now, whenever I work with data. And I will talk more about it. But before that, let me introduce myself. One second. So, like I recently got nominated, like not nominated, I got awarded with Microsoft MVP, and I'm financial analyst working at Profectors. Okay, and one of my you can say that regarding training and consulting and preparing financial models for for investment banking companies and automating the financial processes. And one of the things which I really like at workplace is that right now we are building financial models all with lambdas and dynamic arrays. Maybe you can say that now you just need to put the inputs and your whole financial uh, models will be updated on just a fly, and that's what I learned. And as a financial analyst, most of my working is going on regarding automating financial transformations, financial modeling, and data analytics. And that's where I will be covering one of the aspects today, that how I built one of the systems which really helped us to automate one of the sales analytics, and it eventually helped us in building our financial models. And besides, like apart from just working in Excel and finance, I really love gaming. You can reach out to me if you are playing games. I really love reading novels, like a lot. If I say mostly about Japanese fictional novels and creating content. And the best part is that I love animes. So I love watching animes, One Piece, Naruto, call it whatever you want. But I really love watching animes, and they have improved me a lot regarding thinking critically and everything. So you can just send me here and we can start sharing ideas about all of those stuff. Back to the topic, like why is the first topic which I will be taking is regarding centralized reporting and why it is very crucial for financing. And here I will talk for 1 or 2 minutes. The thing is that mostly I belong to finance community, but I have been like if I have got all of my friends from tech community, call it Owen Price, Brian Julius, and lot of folks. Okay, and whenever I see like they are building something with Python, they are building something with AI, I really get like so much inspired from them. And this is where now finance teams need to learn that if they want to move towards the next future, okay, regarding Web 3.0 or 4.0, whatever you guys want to say regarding to now build AI tools, centralizing reporting is going to be very crucial. And what do I mean by centralizing reporting? So what happens is now big four companies have built systems, and these big companies like you can say that big companies have already built systems. But what happens when you are belonging to an MSC companies, right? So they cannot deploy SAP in the because that will be just like you calling elephant just to build a simple something, right? So that's the thing. You cannot go for implementing SAP for them, and that's where it cannot work. And the thing is that most of the other ERP tools they use, they don't provide the services to a particular, you can say, domain. So like the example which I'm going to take is pharmacy company, not pharmacy company, but pharmacy store, medical store, you can say. And what they have got like 2 to 3 regions where they cater their services, where they sell medicines. All right. Now what happens is that because they are in pharmacy selling stuff, what happens is they cannot go for SAP because they have got an MSC sector. They have just got 10 of the stores. And the thing is that now they have to rely on local softwares, and that's where things get really messy, because the thing is that these softwares don't have a proper architecture where we can like store the data in a centralized form, right? So what they do, these stores send you guys, like the financial people, individual data. Now the thing is that you might have heard that 80% of our time goes regarding data cleaning and everything, and this is where creates problems for us, because creates so much friction between analyzing the data properly, and that's why we go with like just simple analytics, right? So today we will be learning about, like, if I create a proper system and proper centralized raw, and that creating a proper data consolidation pipeline, our analysis will be so much smoother, and just one click and that's it, your whole analysis can be done. For that, we will be needing two things. First, standardized templates, and then shared folder. So standardized templates can be something like you ask for the customized team and say that, see, we want to get the report in this format, so that these individual stores can directly send to data to you on monthly level, on month end, right? So that's the thing. And share folder, either this can folder can be a shared folder directly if you are managing a head office, right? So it can be on a temporary hard disk server, or now with modern techniques, you can create a shared folder on your SharePoint, and then these guys can send you the files. All right. And that will be much better, at least in my opinion, compared to local server. And what can we do now? Once we have got data in a proper format and in a common folder, right? So we can use Power Query as an ETL tool, which can collate our data and can help us to analyze our data, and also see some of the best practices and everything. So instead of just taking you through the theories, let me explain you one of the things, right? Directly, so that you can understand what I mean. All right. So like I told you, we were working on one of the clients where they had got 10 to 15 stores, and what they wanted to understand which city should they target next, so that they can open up more store on in these cities. Or if something is going wrong in that city, right? So maybe they should cut out their stores, and maybe they should tie up with something else. And should they go for online sales as well, so that they can start growing as well? So this is what I have brought up, and just see now. All right. In just one click, let me refresh this data. One second. And you can see here the template is looking so much good right now that you can just do the analysis in just by refreshing this data. One second, I should have refreshed it earlier before coming here. Yeah. So just see here, for the time being, just assume this is the year, right? For financial year 23-24, we have got this data and we have prepared this wall report. Now, you can see here what I'm going to do here. I'm going to copy paste this wall data, and it's in this format, right? Just copied the wall folder, and in each of the folders, okay, in India, we follow the financial year. So that's why you can see here, April is my first month. And what are doing is we are creating a system kind of thing, naming convention, so that April month always comes in the first. And you can see here, we have got like 8 stores in April. But if I go to March, end of February, and you can see now we have got 10 stores. So the data is coming here in this format. So the moment I copy paste my whole data in this folder and just press it refresh, it will just take a few minutes, or if the data is a bit big, but in just few seconds you can see the analysis coming here. Just see now. I've got all of my data very quickly now. That what is my category which is booming here. So mostly vaccines are going good. And then in total city, you can see here Rajkot has improved a lot. Maybe we now need to get an idea that had they been installed or like had they been opening more stores in Rajkot so that we can understand more, right? So that's kind of thing I'm talking about. But now we need to see here how this data has come up in the first place. And that's where I will be touching more today. But before that, let me ask one, is there something query on or should I continue? Like I will show how did I build this whole system so that,
Yeah. Yeah. Please show us. Yeah. Interested.
all right, just give me a second. Let me close PowerPoint. I won't be needing it. All right. So what did I do now? Let me close this whole thing. One second. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is this is very simple. So let me open up a new workbook and then we can start from scratch. So this is my blank workbook. All right. And all I have to do here is simply coming here. And I don't know how many of you don't know about this section, this wall section in the data tab, which is Power Query, right? And this wall section has changed my life like anything. All I have to come now is get data from file and from folder. That's it, right? And if I come here, just select my sales data, all right? And just see now, it will figure it out all of the files which are present in that folder. I click the transform button and then just see now, it will bring all of my files. And that's where I told you about like if you have got proper template and everything, things will become so much easier. So before going there, let us spend a bit of time to understand what is going on inside one of the files. So what we have done is we have asked the team that, see, whatever you do, we want these many columns. I want the transaction ID, the date column, which will be, of course, the transaction date, then the customer who is buying, so that in healthcare, we want a bit of information and other credentials as well, so that we know that they are not using it for other purposes. Then the product, so that we can analyze more what quantities they bought, and the final piece is the right right now. And what I want to do here is I want to calculate the revenue, all right, and the financial year. And that's what we will be checking out. So what can we do here is if I come here now, you can see I've got all of my files, but you will find something different that I've got a lot of details. What is my name? What is the content? What is the extension? One of the things I will say that, all right, this is a good approach, right? Directly coming from folder. But what can happen wrong? So normally you have seen finance team working, right? What they do is inside the sales department, they can create a something new folder as well. And in this new folder, there can be again a new folder and then there can be files. Let's say I've got a text file or I will better say Excel file directly. Yeah, I can create directly this way, new file, Excel file, right? And if I come here, just make it refresh it, you will see now I've got 198 rows. And if I go back to my end, once again, yeah, now you can see here, this file is also coming, right? So that's where normally I want to avoid it if you are using common folder for other purposes as well. So what is a good approach? What you can do now? So instead of going directly, okay, you go there and brought up the file, that's a nice trick. But what you can do here is you can come here and directly say that dot, and here there is again a different function, that is contents. If I prepare the contents function, you can see now I am getting the important folders which I need to work on, right? So what can I now do here? I can say that I need only these two folders. That's it, right? So I've got my folders here. And what can I now do here is I can start working on these individual files. All right. One more thing. What can happen is I may not provide the names in this for proper way. Right, 2023, 24, 2024, 25. If I'm not providing in that way, it will create a bit trouble. But when we have seen data, there was a transaction date, right? So instead of relying on the folder much, what can I do here is I can use directly play with the dates directly, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So let me create one by one step. I'm filtering required folders. And then what can I do here is I'm going to extract two columns now. Why two columns? Because the thing is that this wall data is not important for me. For me, these two information are very important. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come here and will say that name and content. That's it. And the moment I provide that, actually, I don't need the content part as well. So what can I do now? I can just come up and call the content portion, right? And that's it. And here you can say here, it is writing content.1. But right now I can see here I've got only one content. So I can remove this whole portion and it will still work fine for me. So that's the thing. Now the thing is that I've got all of my 24 folders, right? From April to April 23 to March 25. So what can I do now is now simple thing again, I can extract these two columns because when we have seen that, let me close it down, not this one. The thing with our data set is that whenever an individual store owner is creating this Excel file, what will happen is they won't be making their additional column like store name, right? Otherwise, it will sound so silly. So that's why when they provide their store name, they come up with the file name. Let me make it this way so that it will be easier to understand, right? So they will be making the store names directly inside the file name. And that is good for me. That's why I need the file name directly inside that so that I can identify which individual stores are there for me, right? So now what can I do now is I can bring these three columns. Now why dot XLSX? There may be times when the store owner is providing me a table format or not table format, a PDF format, a CSV file, the unnecessary file which I don't need in the first place. So instead of messing my head there, so what can I do here is I can just filter out those files. But that's where your principles comes. If you are providing a common folder in a proper neat out way, then you won't be needing this extension column in the first place. So what I'm going to do here is for the time being, let me do this way. Then I can come here and then expand these three columns, content name and extension. The moment I provide it, it's fine for the time being. Okay, so what can I do now here is, let me see now, I can again rename my step here. Then instead of calling it name, what can I do now is I can call it a store. Hey, Owen, is my screen proper or should I zoom it a bit so it will be more comfortable?
For me, it's fine. If anyone else is struggling to see, then just say something.
All right, let me make
Can
it
see it
bit
fine.
more clear then. Yeah. So extension, it is fine for me. I will just go extension so that I don't want these way columns. And then Yeah, my naming conventions here in the step names, I cannot right now think of anything else. But yeah, I will be organizing them more properly. Right? And then what can I do now is I can come here and can say that begins with and will write here begins with dot xls. Okay, and there are still many things in India where people still use dot xls files. So yeah, we cannot do anything about that, but all I can do here is filter in that way. All right. So now I've got my content, my store names and extensions. So now all I'm going to do here is remove all the other columns. Remove other columns. I will say is filter Excel. And then here I will say is right. And what can we now do here is something more. I can come now. Now the thing is that I've got my data set in this format, right? At least this is making more sense. Now I want to extract these files now. Behind the scene, you are seeing that this is a binary content. All right. But Power Query understands that this is an Excel file because it is identified.xls, right? And it is even identifying the logo as well of Excel files. So now I'm just going to press this button here. Okay. This button, and what it will do, it will give me a new utility in a way. So the moment do that, you will now see here, it will come up with something new dialog box where I can figure it out that my data is in this format, right? So this is a good way. Now, if you have got multiple files in a particular store, you should select this one, but that is not the topic of today's session. How can we do that? For the time being, I know that I've got only one sheet per file, then I'm good to go. The moment I do this way, now you can see here, Power Query will evaluate everything and it will create something like helper columns now, helper queries now. You can see here, right? It has created some helper queries and you can now see here we have got the data now, right? But directly jumping on here and then analyzing our data, let us understand what is going on here. Let me remove this one, ungroup, so that it makes a bit easier. And what is parameter one? Parameter one is something like you can understand in a way that what is going to be the file I'm going to input here. It's not necessarily always going to be the first file. You can also select other files as well. But here I'm just going to create a parameter so that this function can work properly. And let me say it sample, and then I'm going to say it fx transform so that it will be a bit easier moving forward. Now, if you see here, you will find something interesting, right? There is a transform file here, and then there is a sales one, right? And Power Query has created a function which is asking for something like binary file. All right, so what is going on behind the scene? And this is where I really find it very good when I am working with binary files because I have created several videos in the past that if you are working with PDF as well, you can create something like functions on your own so that it will be much more good. Because the thing is, like, let's see now. Right now, we are seeing that we have got the data in this way, right? Our header is there. And if I go next step, next door, you will see that I've got again headers, right? So if I am going to transform something here, let's say I'm going to promote my headers now. Now just see here. Now my headers have gone pretty clean, right? Now I am not going to find there. Right. So what is happening behind the scenes? So Power Query by default, when you create a function out of a query, it will by default update it automatically. So let me show you something. So if I come here, it will first tell me. if you are going to update this function in any way, it will directly stop updating. Okay, because this wall function is dependent on this transform uh, query. So if let's see what is going on behind the scene. If I press OK for the time being, I'm not going to update it, right? So just see here, Power Query is writing something else here. And that's where I feel like finance people don't want this approach. They will get really like they will get horrified if we are going to see this much code in a first place. So instead of doing that, I will show you like what you can say that I will show you just mouse clicks today so that it will be so much easier instead of going and writing the code in the first place. All right. So what can happen is, and that's where I will be tweaking a bit of my Power Query code so that it will be easier so that we don't create so many steps. And let me tell you why I fall in love in Power Query in the first place. The thing is that whatever changes I make here, the steps will be created here, right? So if you see here, all the steps have been created. And the best part is that treat it something like version history. Let's say you want to take a time machine and wants to go back and see what I have done in the past. The moment I come here, let's see, just see now. I am here, right? When I selected all of my columns. Then by default, what Power Query did is they filtered the hidden files. Whatever hidden were there, they filtered it out. And then they created a custom column all in itself. So if tomorrow you are again coming back to this workbook, right? Now you have got step by steps. You can just see the data directly with your naked eyes. You don't have to just rely on the coding, what we used to go for VBA, where you will see that the wall code, or when you work with Python, you will see again the code. But here working with Power Query, you can see the results and at the same time the code here as well, what the person is doing in the first place. So this is a very good thing. And the best part is that now I know which step has been working in the subsequent step, right? So when you are working with like documentation, when you are working for like CA firms, when we need like audit history, when we want to document that what steps I have performed to clean the data, this is one of the good things which I like about Power Query. All right. So that's the best part. And that's why I want to build a solution which go step by step so that I just don't write uh, code again. And the best thing is normally I will go for no code environment where people will be just dragging and dropping. But you can see here. So what did I do here is I just promoted here, coming to the home tab and pressing this button. Use first row as headers. The moment I do it, you can see here, now everything has been promoted. But there is a trick. Instead of creating one step, what you can do here is you can come here and see this function.
We've lost him.
Change that null to true, and you don't have to do the promote headers.
Which one is that? Where's that?
Excel.workbook, for instance, parameter 1, then null, change that null to true, and you
Okay.
don't have to promote your header.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that just takes the first row as headers. Is that what that parameter means?
Right.
Okay. Wish I could step into the screen share and fix it, but I have to wait. You back? No.
I hope so my system doesn't betray me. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, something happened. My Teams completely restarted in the first place.
Oh,
Let me share my screen. All right. So I was here. So we were talking about how we can promote the headers as well directly, or what we can do here is we can come here and use one of the features of 1 second. Something is, yeah, this second option where null is coming here. So what can I do now is, all right, today my system is going pretty bad. I don't know what is happening.
so I can see the screen share. Is that just me who can see that, or Peter, you can't? Paul, can you see the screen share?
I can see it, but it looks like he's frozen again.
Yeah, I
All
know
right.
he's
Is it good? My system is betraying me today. I don't know. Working with Teams maybe, but no idea. Now you can see here when I use this true parameter here, all right, the second parameter in the excel.workbook function, what can I see now is you can see that headers have been automatically promoted. And now I don't have to use the step in the first place. So that's what I was talking about. And the best part is this will be updated, and in return, this wall query will be updated now, right? Great. Now the thing is that Power Query by default adds a lot of step, right? So great, it has added the steps. But the problem with it is that this one step, expanding the columns. All right. And it is interesting now. So they quickly identified the columns directly from the sample file here, directly from the sample file. And this is really good because I had to do it before, but Power Query has got smarter now. Otherwise, I had to show you guys like what I would have done. So what Power Query directly has done is they have grabbed the columns directly from here, from the transform file, because these are the columns I will be needing, right? So what Power Query has done is they have directly bring all those columns here. And that's a great idea. Now, you know, the problem with it is that, and let's touch upon it later on, but for now, this is going to be good. And now what can I do here is, let me make it, I won't be needing this step. I will say it transform step, select columns again. Okay, this will be the second portion. And then I'm expanding. But the problem is again the same thing. It has removed by default my stores column, right? And that's what I want to bring it out. So what I need to see here is just see by default what Power Query has done is it by default selected only my transform file function. So all I need to come here is this button, which I need to press here. And the moment I press here, you will see that I've got store column here. And the moment I do here is you can see now I've got my stores and transform file. And if I go to next step, you can see now everything is in proper order, right? And that's what I wanted. And all I can now come here will say transform, extract text before delimiter, and I can say it dot, right? Or you can better write dot xlsx if sometimes people are writing using dots as a delimiter instead of a space for the file names. So you can directly say it delimiter as dot xlsx or maybe dot xls because that's what we filtered in the first place, right? And now I've got my store's name properly. Now what I need is I will be needing two columns here, right? First the quantity and the price column. But before doing that, let us, you can say that, do the basic thing which normally Excel lacks. That is the data types, right? So I want to assign the data types properly. If I do that, let me select this wall column, then come to the transform tab. Then I am going to say it detect data type. So it is a quick way to detect the data types, right? But the thing is that normally I don't want to get the stores as my number column because I'm not going to use any aggregation functions here, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it text values only so that it doesn't create problems for me. And then what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to make the prices currency. What's the difference? In pricing, what can happen is you can go for 4 digits, 10 digits, up to 15 digits, if I'm correct. Maybe dot nine, 19 digits if it is dex in a way. But yeah, in a way, this is good to go when you are working with decimals. All right, when you are working with currencies, with pips and everything. But instead, I'm going to go for currency because I know that my pricing will be only for 2 digits. So it doesn't have to store too much information for me. If at all there is something like what you can say floating numbers issues, but I'm for the time being, I'm just going for the pricing ones, which will store only up to 4 digits. Right now you are seeing here 2 digits, but yeah, it can store up to 4 digits. So that's the thing. I'm going to select it typing. Okay. Now all I need to do here is in Excel, you will be needing to go for next column and add the columns, writing formulas. All I need to do here is select these two columns, come to the add column, and then just say standard multiply. That's it. The moment I do it here, you can see here I've got revenue directly. Now most people have an idea that see I've got the multiplication column, so I want to go for writing it revenue. So it will create two steps. What you guys can do here is you can make it in one step as well. So instead of coming here, and that's where you can start learning a bit of how Power Query behaves behind the scenes. So I'm going to rename it for the time being revenue. And then here you can see here the multiplication word is coming from here, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to write here directly revenue. The moment I do it, you will see here it is going to update my revenue column directly, right? And that's a good idea now. Now what can I do here is I need financial year as well, right? Because the thing is that if I come here, date column to my year column here, you will see I'm getting 2023 here. All right. But the thing is that normally in India, we want, and in even UK, we want something like 2023-24. Okay. So how can I do that now? So this is where you need to write a bit of coding here. So what you need to do here is you need to come for custom column. You will see here something like create a function. Then what can you do here is let me come here custom column. That is all right. Someone can say that Aditya, you can also try it something like that one. Conditional column. I've tried it not conditional column. This one column from examples. I've tried it and it didn't work properly. Maybe let's us try again and I can show you this one as well. s- Let me remove all of those columns and instead just select the date column only. Maybe I shouldn't have selected everything, but yeah. Now what can I do here is I can say here fiscal year. I can write year 2023, 24. Let's say 2023, 24. And let's see now. It is saying me that the transformation will cover only 2023, 24. And that's why I don't think this is a good idea unless I give a lot of sample. and you need to filter out a lot as well. So that's why I didn't go with this approach. So what you can do here is instead directly come here, add a custom column. All right, I will say it here, fiscal year. Then I can say here is date. Now here is the thing. We need to now go back 3 months back. Okay, in a way, and that's the logic so that I get the year from like for the previous year. So right now you think in this way. I'm sitting at March, right? Or let's say April. So this is going to be my first month, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shift my date back to 3 months. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say a date, add months, right? And then I'm going to select the date portion and then we'll select -3 because I'm going 3 months back. And if I select it here, now you can see here is, let me select here, right? So I'm going back to 3 months back, right? So this is going to give me a good idea because this has become my first month now. And then all I'm going to do here is, one second, something is problem. Now I cannot edit it. Did I press something more? Wait, year. All right. So the moment I do it, you can now see here, I'm still getting 23. But for the time being, if I go here and select the month as something like month, as for example, let's say directly for the January month, right? Which will be, of course, 2024. So if I come here, now you can see here, I'm getting still 23, right? So this is the wall logic here. So that's the thing which I used here. And the same thing, what can I now do here is because the problem is that now I'm going to use date here. And if I'm going to, let's say, just add text here, right? That's where trouble starts. We will get an error. So normally when we do these things in Excel, it is so much easier. All right, Owen, do you have any question?
Yeah, I have it's actually a question from earlier in the chat. When you're
Hmm?
importing from many files, is it
Hmm?
important that all the sheets are named the same?
Yeah, I will cover up that topic. Those are edge cases. I will be covering two of those. All right. Okay,
Okay.
I think I'm running out of time, but let me wrap up faster. So what can
So
I do here
we
is,
just with regards to time, the meeting is still got 40 minutes if you want, but really just as long as you need.
right, so I will be needing just 30 minutes, I think so, but I will be a bit quick. But if no one has got problem with my what you guys say the speed, then I'm fine for that. All right. So you can write it in the chat. And Owen, if you can even jump in if I'm going like if you want something to be understandable, so that you can even jump in between. I don't mind it. So now the problem is that Excel doesn't have problem if you are attaching numbers and text, but Power Query has got three golden rules, and you should really learn that. It starts with zero, from zero instead of one, which I will talk a bit later on. The second thing is it is really data sensitive and it is case sensitive. Okay, and that's where the third one come here, data sensitive regarding number and text cannot be attached together. So that's where I need to convert this wall number into a text format first. So instead of going there and using lot of complications, I can use this just simple function date to text. That's it. And this is something like the text function in Excel, where I can come here now and write here just simply y. And that's it. The moment I do here, now you can see here, I've got text format, right? And now all I can come here and again going to use the same logic, copy pasting this whole logic uh, from this to this here. And this time I'm going to add 9 months now, right? Because after 9 months, my next year will start, right? And that's all I want. So after 9 months, I will get 2024 and I will remove 2 y's here. And now you can see here, I've got 2023-24. Let's jump it and let's check it out. If I come here to like, let's say next year, you will see now, all right, something happened. Okay, I should have better tried it that way. Mhm. Yeah, not this year. I think it is not going to provide me a proper idea, so I'm going to use a custom filter directly. So I'm going to say that is after. Let's directly select the dates here. Let's select January, and is before I'm going to select, let's select C. Now you will see that I'm getting 2024-25, right? So this is why the logic is a bit important one. And you can see here now our fiscal year is working perfectly fine. All right. Again, the same thing here. If I'm going to jump on and now we'll select, like you can say that, change data type because I want in a text format, right? So you will be going here, coming to something like text to make it text format. But here is a big thing. What you can do here is, if you see here, when I added my last column just by selecting here, we use the same function here, table.add column. And in the last step, we have added a currency type column, right? So that's what I can again leverage here in the last parameter. So I can provide here something like uh, type text. And the moment I do here, you can see now my fiscal year has been transformed to now text type. And that's all I wanted, right? And that's it. If I come here, go for the table, just see now I've got everything what I wanted. And I can now change here. Yeah, you can come here as well. I can change it to my style. Yeah, and font to my company shoots. And then I can just see now my data is all collated and in just simple clicks, right? So this is what uh, is a better way now. You can collect the data. We didn't write much of the coding. We didn't do much. Everything in no code environment, right? So tell me if you have got any other questions. Otherwise, I will go to a bit edge cases. What can happen? The way Owen has described that. What if street name can change, right? Because what happens, everyone is going here right now, for example, seat one. If I come to even to the seventh store, they are using seat name. But maybe it can happen that if tomorrow I'm going to open a new store, right? 10th store, the staff may not be well trained. Maybe they just wanted to copy paste the data and the seat name is coming something like, let's say they are sending his sales information. And what will happen now? If I'm going to reload the data, now just see, I'm getting an error, right? Expression dot error. Now, for a typical financial person, They will be like, what the hell happened right here? Because they have got no idea what might have gone wrong. All right. So best way is, what you can do here is, you can come here directly inside the steps. All right. And this is where you will still not find the errors properly. Okay. So how can we identify the error? What error might have happened in the first place? So what you can do here is, that's why I went with this approach and not the files approach. Because in files, you cannot properly identify very easily. So now what can I do here is, I can come here, all right, duplicate this data. 1 second, duplicate this query here. What happened was, my data was coming here this way, right? So I can come here, delete until all the end here, right? Okay, my mistake. I should have not deleted this step. I can duplicate this wall column. I can come here, right? So this is where you can see now, when I go to the transform tab, I'm getting an error, right? You can see here the red is coming here. Or what you can do here is, you can come here and see the column quality, and you will see that there is an error here, right? So this is where what you can do now is, let me delete all of these steps, delete until end. And this is not going to help, right? Because we don't have the year and the folder, because we have just got the files. So what can I do here is, I can come here and select more data. So I can say it name as well. So this is my folder name. I've got transformations, and now I can come here and can say here is keep errors. The moment I see errors here, you can now see here is, I'm getting an error here. An error occurred when we were evaluating function.transform query, because the key didn't match. In a way, you might not understand it, right? So what we can do now? So a better way is, as I told you, you just go for the indexing column, right? You will find it everything, and that's where I told you Power Query is zero based. So your first item will be zero based here. Now I can come here and can say that keep errors, right? This is 196. I can come here, all right, and let me test it. What happens when I go to 196 query, right? And just see now. This is the back reversing thing, what you can do now. So when I come to the transform tab, you will see that we cannot convert a value of table type to binary. Not a problem. Let's go and see behind the scenes. We cannot convert a value type to binary. 1 second. Yeah, sample is working good. Hmm. All right. So the problem is that I've got these two tables, right? And it is not identifying this sales portion, because earlier my seat name was sales. So if you feel that there is going to be only one seat, so what can I do here is, what Power Query is doing here by default. In the transform step, it is hard coding the values here. Hit one. So what can I do here is, instead of going that route, I can come here, remove this wall step, and do here 0. And the moment I do here is, 1 second. Yeah, I didn't made more curly brackets. Something is not working good. Where did I mess up? All right, maybe because I was selecting this way. Now things will be easier to understand. Yeah. So earlier we were selecting sheets by sheet name, something like you can say that indexing and matching. Now I'm going to select the first row where I know that there will be my data. So I'm going to select the first row, which is zero based index. And that's what I'm going to do. The moment I do it, my error has been resolved. And if I come here, all right, and to the transform tab, or maybe directly here, now you can see here there is no error now. All right. My column quality is looking good. So this is the one of the ways you can say that you can remove that bug or error where your seat name has been changed. Okay. So you can if you don't know how to understand the error, you can just go back by back, reverse engineer and can understand where my error lies. And that's what I have shared you uh, right now, that how can I identify the wall error. And now if I refresh this wall data, let me delete this step now. 1 second. Now you can see here, let me refresh this wall data. Now just see, I don't have any problem right now. All right. So this is one of the ways you can solve that issue. Now another thing, all
Oh,
right, till now someone has got any confusion, they can ask me now. Otherwise, I will take touch upon a bit on other edge cases. All right. If I'm reading the chats correctly, people are talking about calendar table. Yeah, I will also go with that route that I create calendar table. But in that case, I didn't want that kind of thing because what happens is it was so much easier directly working because there was only one date, not like shipping date and everything. So I find it easier directly working with this date. All right. So yeah, I'm also favoring of like calendar table, but in this case it was not needed. And let's go for something like a different edge case. Now, right now you can see here we have got everything properly, right? Now one of the accountants played a prank, or maybe they just didn't like the way quantity was called quantity, because everywhere you can see here like customer, why should we name customer? This guy did something tricky. They made it customer directly and quantity changed to quantity, right? So they did something like this way here. Now what happens is the moment they change this stuff here, now just see now, I'm going to get an error now, right? I'm not getting my customers directly now. And that's going to be a bit of a problem now, right? My revenue is not being calculated and everything. So what gonna happen? What has caused this problem? So if I come here, right? So just see, and that's where your sample query will also come in the play. And that's where will take you, tell you a bit more about it. So what now happens is, what is my sample query right now? My sample query is coming 110.xlsx, and at the same time, it is sitting on the 197 position. Okay, this is my 197 file. So that is creating problems here. Because what happens is, if I come to my very first file, my columns will all change, right? 1 second. Yeah, they directly hit this step. Now what will happen is my columns have been updated like this way. Transaction ID, date, customer, product, quantity, and price. And behind the scenes, now it will create columns that you don't have customer name column. All right. You don't have other names and everything. So what you can do here is, and this is where your standardization also comes. So if you believe that your columns are always going to be arranged in this way, right? Regarding transaction ID, second will be date, third will be customer, then will be product, then will be quantity, and then will be price, right? So instead of going so much hard coding and everything, like making a complete, like you can say automation process, and just you can say that just by doing a few steps, what you can do here is you can just make it change your, that's it. The moment I make it customer name and quantity going to be my quantity, all right, and I'm going to change everything. Okay, let me do it something like this way, and I will make it completely D so that it understand that all of my columns are going to be this way. But the problem is that it is going to identify my columns like this way, right? And this is where it creates a bit of problem, and we cannot use this step here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it null in the first hand, and then now you can see here my names are not going to be a bit of problem here, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm directly going to change ID, then here it will be date, then I will be saying something like customer name, then it will be product, then it will be quantity, and then it will be price. All right. And it assumes that your columns will be always in this format. Okay. And then I can come here, remove top rows and my very first row. The moment I do this, I've got my columns and everything. Now you can see here, my data will be coming in a proper format. If I'm going to refresh it, just see now, I've got everything in a proper format now, right? And this is where your skills of, you can say that your standardization and best practices will help you out. I didn't understand, but yeah. So this is one of the ways. Other thing, it may happen. Okay. Now this is not going to be the case, but what might happen is, like this will even solve the problem if you are working with like global companies where you have got the headers coming in Germany and everything. So this is one of the ways if you have got your standardization format, if you know that companies are going to use this particular format only, then this is good. But otherwise, not going to touch more on that right now. But what you can also do here is, let me come here. There is one more way out. All right. And what can happen is, let's say, let me go to the sales. Now, if someone, or maybe our previous enterprise version was something like that, where quantity was coming after pricing. Okay. And we have renamed it this way out. Now the problem will be if I'm going to refresh this data, right? This whole thing bit a mess, right? Price will come in the quantity column, and that's where things can go again on toss. And this is one of the edge cases which I mostly face when we are working with companies who don't have proper training to their employees, or they have just recruited someone recently. So that can happen now. So what can we do here is I've created in a flow in a way that now even if my data changes and anything happens, I can come here, data, refresh, right? Maybe I made a mistake there. Let me check it out. Maybe the folder path is a main problem here. One second. Yeah, cells is the right path. Okay, I got an idea where things got a bit lost. So I am going to remove this column. Right? Now you can see here, everything will work perfectly fine. Okay, let me check it out. What is happening here? Yeah, I've got columns. Right. What did I selected? All right, because here it was coming in that way, right? So this is one of the ways you can, okay, I got it. I didn't make it here fail proof, but I can make it 0 and then it will work perfectly fine. Yeah, I should have been better prepared. Maybe shouldn't have changed my data, but yeah, all fine now. So if I come now, you can see in a way that this is going to be a completely fail proof. Where is, all right, I think I would be making it here. Even customer name is my customer. All I need to do here is just from here create a master table in a way that I know that I can directly rename them properly. And that's all I'm going to do now. So I'm saying that price, then it will be again quantity, right? So it will give us an idea. And the moment I refresh it, now just see here, everything is working perfectly fine. And if tomorrow someone is coming here and will say that, let's say, from now on, we are going to call not this as quantity, but units. All right. So if I'm going to change it here, so all I have to do here is first let's refresh it. So what will happen? It will refresh everything. If I go to the columns tab, I can see here, all I need to do here is now write here quantity, and that's it. The moment I do here, again, just come here and then refresh it. That's it now. And now you will see here, everything is properly aligned, right? So this is one of the ways you can do. So what I've done here is I adopted a bit different approach, but in a way, I renamed a few columns and everything, and then changed a few stuffs here and there. And it requires a bit of knowledge of M code, but yeah, you can do that, and that will be so much simpler. So there are like lot and lot of complexities again and again, but you can say that these are going to be some of the ways you can use for collecting data in the first place. And then you can go for to data consolidation models, to data models. Okay, let me close this one. And if you have got like dimensions table regarding like what is my product, which is category, what is unit of measure, and something like if my store is there, which city the store is there, right? And you can see here in the ending, we have opened one new store at Rajkot as well, right? So what we can do now here is just coming here, creating relationships in a way, data model, data model, relationships, and then if I come here, just see now the sales model has been imported directly inside my data model, and I'm just selecting products to products with the dimension table. And how did I bring it on? So if I come to my query section here, so instead of directly loading to a table, what did I do here is I went into a Power Query model, create only connection, and add this data to the data model. and that's it. And that's when I created like relationships and analyzed the data. So for me, the moral of the story is that if I can bring up my data in just a proper format, in the standard format, all I need to do here is just it will become so much easier to analyze the data. So tomorrow, if I'm preparing a financial model, I can just quickly get an idea that how many stores were opened in that particular year, in that particular month. And based on that, I can analyze my, you can say that analyze my expenses, what were the expenses, how much time the store has taken for construction. So these things you can analyze better if you bring up the data from a centralized pipeline and bring up the data to a central location. So that is going to be the best approach. And you can go for more further analysis, but this is the way you can say that I'm now creating and organizing my data properly now. And this is one of the ways you can say that I can consolidate the data much more easily compared to just hunting down, figuring out folder to folder, or manually copying pasting the data. All right, guys. Anything else if you want to ask me? I
Scanning the
cannot hear you.
chat.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I am going through the chats.
I think there was one question earlier on. Do you find it simpler to use the automatic extraction process to create the helper functions and helper queries, or building your own steps?
Yeah, I created more helper queries because whenever I want to build the solution for normal clients, they don't want to go inside the M code. So I create helper queries again and again. It can be a bit redundant, but at least for them, it is much more easier to understand. Okay, what is going on? Yeah, no, not everyone has got sharpest minds, but yeah, for them, it works.
I think the question was more about when you bind lots of files from a folder, Power Query automatically creates queries for you. It creates that sample file. It creates the sample extraction query, and it creates that FX function, which it uses to iterate over the files. But it does that
Yeah,
automatically. I think the question
exactly.
was, do you prefer it to do it automatically or build it from scratch?
So you can say that mostly nowadays because I know I'm coding, so I will be just going with that as a skeleton and then start tweaking it with so that as I told you, like in the last example, I didn't go with that route. I created my own way out because what happens is Power Query normally just creates too many things, steps which I don't need in the first place. And that's when I find it out, okay, this is I don't need. So instead, I will be preparing my own way out. So for power users, of course, it is a bit in a hassle. But for normal people who are trying it on in the first place, that will be much more helpful instead of just figuring out everything, what is going on.
I agree. I think most users won't know how or want to create a function that iterates over binary files,
Yeah.
but it's useful once it's created.
Exactly. And the best thing is that most people, like whenever I see a lot of experts who collects the data in Power Query, what they do is they create a function which is not directly linked to the transformation file. So what happens is that next time I have to go there, I have to now write the M code directly myself. But if I'm creating a sample file, then transforming the file, and at least I've covered in my YouTube videos, a few of the YouTube videos as well. So when I create these functions, I can directly just drag and drop. That's it for me. instead of just going to edit the function again, then understand, okay, what I have done here and there. Or maybe some people even do the table.add column and bring up the whole latent in. This is not one of my approaches, because I want to see the data. I want to, like, if tomorrow my financial model is going for audit, then the auditor can understand that, okay, this is the step I went through with. Okay, instead of just figuring out that, yeah, what code I have written it.
Makes a lot of sense. We're coming to the end of the time. Has anybody got any other questions for Aditya before we finish?
I just hope that I have covered one of the cases which is going to be really useful for financial analysts or even HR analysts who get reports in like attendance sheet, right? Monthly to monthly. So they're like, you have got an examples, and maybe not for techie people, you can say the IT teams who day in, day out work with SQLs, who like all those Azure and everything. But finance people, their life revolves around Excel sheets, so they can find it very easier. So that was my motive at least, and I hope that people find it useful.
I agree with you, and I think they will. I think Power Query is one of the most, personally, I think even though there is Python and Copilot, I think Power Query is the most important thing to learn in Excel, even beyond dynamic arrays, if you can believe that. I do think Power Query is the most important part of Excel. And I think everybody needs to know how to use it if they're going to use Excel. Not only that, but if you know Power Query, you can get a head start on learning Power BI and Power Automate and Azure Data Factory and Synapse Analytics and Fabrics, all kinds of places where Power Query is used. So it's just a good thing. It's a good way to spend your time. If anybody has any requests for future sessions, topics to cover, it doesn't have to be about Excel. It can be about any analytics topic you want. We've got plenty of people who want to talk about SQL or Python or R or anything like that. If you've got any requests, please do reach out and let me know, and I will find someone to talk about it. And if I can't find someone, I will talk about it myself. So with that, I am going to end the recording, and then